This week is hard to wrap up summary-wise. So I think the first point that I'm going to make is that I learned that I am powerful. And that's kind of like a big opening statement, but I didn't want to forget to tell you that. And it's kind of like this little snippet that happened. And there was tons of stuff that happened this week. Some of it which I'm going to gloss over, and some of it I'll kind of lay out contextually for you. So this week, I thought a lot about the ghosting person. And part of like what hurts about the whole ghosting thing, for me at least in that particular case, I've been ghosted before and it didn't hurt the same. But I want to touch upon that because I had a belief that I would never find another person that I felt a certain way with, that I felt with the ghosting person. And one of the ways in which I felt was like a feminine power. And this might be a little bit woo-woo, but I feel like everybody has their own power. Not power over people, but power with people. And there's a dynamic that I really enjoy that equals what I think desire is. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy when they desire me and I desire them. And I really enjoy when I can tell that they're kind of like insane for me. And that seems very kind of weird to say, but I like it. I don't know why. So I thought that this guy was the only guy that I could ever have a dynamic with where he thought like that about me. But I quickly learned that that's not the case, because I found two more people that did that within the same kind of time period of this week, that I guess to varying degrees of that, of the desiring of me, but they kind of like told me the exact same phrasing that that guy said to me, the ghosting guy said to me. And a light bulb went off in my head that I, as an individual, held power within this type of relationship, and I enjoyed that power. I enjoyed that role, and I enjoyed them wanting me to the degree that they were kind of like a little bit nuts. And it's not that I just picked like 3 random people in the world recently that happened with. The power comes from like whatever I did, right? Like I can't really tell you like how to get power over people or with people. So I can't really tell you, like, if I was to tell you how to repeat this process and get people to like be crazy about you, the craziness doesn't last, by the way. Like, it's very temporary, but like I enjoy that part. Doesn't matter if it's like long lasting or temporary. I just didn't think that I was capable of like making people kind of nuts. I just didn't think that anybody would really like me like that. So it's weird to talk about, but it's interesting. It's interesting because you finally realize that whatever you bring to the table, you hold power or worth, or people desire you just for that. They don't even have to experience you yet. They just like the aura of you. And I never really knew that. I just thought it was like on a case-by-case basis that whatever was in this guy's head, he just happened to like me. But the more times that it happens consistently for me, like yes, it's happened before the ghost guy, like the experience of somebody being kind of like a little bit more into me than normal. Within a shorter time frame or whatever, like they were, how do I talk about this in like a way that doesn't make me sound like a narcissist? I enjoyed that they expressed like true desire, and only I could scratch that itch, right? I liked that. And I thought that that was a connection that I could only get from Ghost Guy, to the varying degree that Ghost Guy kind of like told me, right? Like, I thought that that was a him and me dynamic, and I was really sad when that dynamic was taken away by the ghosting, because I liked that role with him. And so when I experience what I experienced this week, where I experienced like that can happen for more than one time at that intense level, I learned that it's not Ghost Guy that I should be sad about. I should put more focus into understanding that my traits and my way that I present myself to these people have power, my feminine power or whatever. It does have power. Like it's literally like makes them go crazy. That is a powerful thing. And I'm not trying to do it, but now I'm aware that that happens. I'm aware that that happens because of something that I'm doing, or some kind of interaction that I'm providing, experience I'm providing, like something that I am giving to them, right? Their experience of me makes them like that. And I realized that it was me and not them, right? Like I'm the one consistent in all of these instances. I'm like the single factor that's the same. So therefore I must have some sort of power, and that's really like eye-opening. Like I never thought that way before. To be aware of something versus you're not aware of it, it's really interesting. Because once you're aware of it, like obviously you can manipulate people. I don't want to do that, obviously. I just want to be aware that I have this effect on people when I pursue this type of relationship for this goal, right? I've consistently pursued passionate relationships, short term, and with people that I thought were going to be receptive to those things. So I don't know what that means. That could mean nothing, but to me that's really interesting. I guess I share this because I guess I'm going to keep looking for that dynamic, that I see that they are receptive to my experience. And people not receptive to my experience, then I'll know not to. There's a giant bumblebee on my deck. It's really cute because he's really big and fat. I've never seen a big bumblebee like that right now. So sorry. I am trying to keep on task, but when I film with the blinds of my deck open. He's gone now. Bye, bee. So anyways, I wanted to say that I learned that for a fact, that there is some sort of power within my dynamic and experience that I give to these people that I think would be receptive to that. And so therefore I feel like I'm on the right path as far as like finding what I could find, and maybe the wrong thing is like the time period in which I'm trying to find it in, and the end game to which I'm trying to do with that. Like maybe it's not possible to really pursue something if it's short term that I want. Maybe I need to open it up and think about it in a long-term relationship. That's the only way that it's gonna work. But I do like that there's a powerful dynamic that I have, and that there's passion there, and that they are open enough to kind of tell me their true want. I don't know if that made any sense. I just realized that there was more to it than Ghost Guy, and it made me feel better. It made me feel like there was hope for like future connections. And just because Ghost Guy didn't want to stick around to, you know, experience more, doesn't mean that I'll never have that again. So that's kind of like why I was sad, right? Because I thought that I would never have that one thing that I enjoy a lot again. To have somebody want me and me want them. I guess it's like all about the experience in which you and the other person create. And I learned a lot about that this week. And it's hard to talk about because I have to talk vaguely about it. But I met two different people this week. I went on a date with one, and I didn't go on a date with the other. And one was an alpha male. Well, I guess they're both alpha male, but like one was like a different type of alpha male. He's more like reserved and kind of lets me be front and center. And then one is an alpha male that has power struggles with me. And do you remember that Ken person that I talked to you about? He was alpha, but didn't respect my alpha. Like laughed in my face when I told him I was alpha. And so maybe he's not true alpha, because I feel like I got validation this week from people seeing me. These two people that I talked with a lot this week, they both saw me for me in different ways. And that was interesting because it was simultaneous. It was at the same time. I built this thing with this other person that was alpha male that was kind of bantery back with me the whole time, mental power struggles the whole time. And the other one, alpha male, but let me be alpha too. Like the one that was more alpha bantery, he let me be alpha. And he would challenge me, and it was leveled up, mind games, but like fun mind games that I like. This other one, the way that we were interacting was different, because they're both different personalities, but they're both the type of male that are alpha. Anyways, I learned a lot about what type of person plays back with me to give me a good experience, as far as an authentic experience. An authentic experience involves people who are willing to be vulnerable, who have experienced being vulnerable, who have experienced being honest in tough spots. And if you want a passionate relationship, you don't get passionate from just being physically attracted to somebody. You don't get passionate by, like, you have to trust people. How do you build trust? You build trust by being vulnerable. And so like you need these other things that I'm talking about. And so that's why I'm telling you about them, because it's on my path of trying to find a passionate and kind of intense relationship. People who are intense like I am, I'm intense because I'm serious most of the time. But I also want to be like fun and playful. But like I feel like you see that on my channel. Sometimes it like means nothing, and sometimes it means everything. And I want to just create content that means something. Like it's very easy to create content that means nothing. It's very watchable if it means nothing, right? And it's hard to watch when it kind of matters more, or makes you think about your own life, what your own wants are, even if your own wants are not anywhere near mine. Just kind of like makes you think about them if the setting and the tone is like that. So the setting and the tone is always like that when I'm trying to interact with somebody, because I don't want to just fluffily interact with somebody. I'm not lonely. I'm lonely for quality, and the type that will go without instead and forego something, anything, if I can't have the quality that I want. I'll just go without until I can get it. I'll do that with everything. And it's like not satisfying if I settle. So because I have those kind of like rules and preferences, you know, in my head, this is how interactions get like for me. So first, right off the bat, there's two different simultaneous people that I'm talking to, and we're taking kind of different paths. One is going on the path of like, oh, we should have a date because I'm attracted to you and I like your banter. I'm not sure where this is going or where you want it to go, but we should go on a date at least. Like, it's sexy and it's fun. It's a fun mind game, and it takes a lot out of me. Somebody gave me a lot of effort back though. It wasn't just me putting it in. Somebody gave me a lot of effort back. The other one was the same, but it was different. It wasn't as intense. It wasn't as sexually driven. And it was more just like honest and like kind. And it was weird because it was trying to like, the relationship is built on understanding of my mental psyche, and I've never had that before. So I experienced two different things. I've never been with somebody who let me be alpha and banter back. Like people either deny that part of me or they just kind of like run all over me. I actually put in my Tinder profile after a while, I put that I will not be your sub. I'm not interested in being your sub. Like, you're submissive. People want to dominate me. Not me particularly, but that's just like what their preference is. And like, I've gotten unmatched for not being what they wanted. Like, I get that. I don't fall into the type that they're looking for. And I understand that it can be very specific. And so a lot of alpha guys try to approach, but not a lot of them recognize what I bring. Not a lot of them recognize that. And so it was super fun for me to just be really authentically myself. I think I started figuring out that I was an alpha woman or whatever when I was in the desert. And I think I made a couple of videos about that. I found out that this might not be true, but I found out that there might be people who are aware of their alpha status and who are not. And I thought that was interesting. I was definitely one of those people that, like, it was under the surface and it came to light when I was just by myself. And I prefer that because it feels more authentic. It feels like there's no struggle within my brain. That just feels authentic to follow that path. So it was interesting for me to have somebody clearly very alpha mirror back to me what I already thought about myself without me even bringing it up. That was like very validating. And he was one of those that I created, like, that I have power within this dynamic. And I really liked that. But I also created this thing where the relationship was built on intensity and vulnerability and honesty. Like, once you're really honest with somebody, that builds. It builds. And so it wasn't really about being alpha and alpha female in that relationship, but it was just the first time that somebody really wanted to deep dive into, like, who I am as a personality, who I am as a person. I wasn't attracted to this person, but the connection built up to be intense anyways. So there was a lot of, like, I don't really know what to do with that, because, like, what do I do with that? Like, it feels very like, why am I building this intense thing with somebody for, like, what reason? I don't know. I have to think about that, right? Especially if I want just a short-term thing. So there was a lot of thinking about what it is I want and what it is I think that I should do. It seems complicated, but it's not complicated. I'm making it complicated because I'm trying to explain something that's hard to explain. But basically, because I saw the outcome from both different types, completely polar opposite types of relationships, but the passion and the intensity is there, I have to figure out what to take from that to repeat that in something that works for me, right? This is what you do with your life experiences. They might not be what you need or want, but you can learn from them and you can take little pieces and you can refine. So this week was about learning that part of what I liked with the ghost guy was repeatable because that came from me. So that gave me power. Part of what I learned was that people will respond to me in the way that I enjoy and want if I am open and vulnerable, but just consistent with that, right? So I think almost everybody has that in them to do. And part of why I like this YouTube channel is that it gives me practice and to be vulnerable and open. Even if I'm being vague about stuff, I'm still being vulnerable and open about something that I care deeply about. And that in itself, like, you kind of want to, like, hold that close to your heart, really. You don't want people to fuck that all up. from outside perspectives. Like, I want to keep my perspective crystallized and not have it shattered by somebody else. I want to shatter it myself if it's worth shattering for. Like, I like to learn my own lessons, even if somebody told me, you know, this is how it's going to work out if you do such and such. I don't know why I'm like that. I need to learn my own lessons for myself. So like, I want to shatter my own thoughts. Like, if they're no good, if like I've learned that something doesn't equal a good outcome, I will shatter that thought myself. But when you add extra people into the mix, they can shatter it for you. And you yourself won't get to experience those things because you'll be like, you know, you're right. Like, that's just ludicrous, right? That's how people get talked out of like really big ideas, because they let other people in. So if, like, just on a side note, if you have a really great idea and you really want to do it, maybe you should not talk about it with anybody close to you. Like, yes, you should get input, but the more people that know about what you really want to do, the less likely you're actually going to do it, because people will put doubt in your mindset. Like, they'll just try to be reasonable and nice, and they think that they're doing a nice thing, and sometimes they are. But you have to fully believe in yourself if you're going to pursue something that is sort of even above average or extraordinary. I don't think trying to pursue a passionate relationship is extraordinary, but I think a lot of people don't have the guts and the mindset and like the mental capacity to do this. It's a hard thing. It like is uncomfortable. I went on the date with the person that was alpha, and it was like playing a mind game the entire time. And it's like, I was tired and I had to be on it. I couldn't just like ask him a question and just let him like talk and then me zone out. Like, it's very interactive. There's nothing passive about it. But I think that's worth pursuing just once in my life to see if that's what I want. Like, to really go all in and pursue it. So that's what it takes. It takes extreme amount of everything in which creates this vulnerable, honest, safe little place for you guys to like interact together. It takes a lot. And you have to be a healthy person in order to like want to enter that. Like, you can't be like running on empty in all of your life buckets or whatever to handle this. So I get why people pick people that are a lot easier to deal with, right? I get it. Like, it almost scares me if somebody is like, wow, you're really easy to talk to. I am easy to talk to, but I'm also going to push you, and that's going to be uncomfortable. That's when I get unmatched. Like, I want somebody to be like, wow, you're easy to talk to, but you also push me. I don't want someone to just be, you're easy to talk to, because I'm gonna raise the levels and you're gonna be uncomfortable, right? I want you to raise the levels and to be uncomfortable too. Make me uncomfortable. So what I'm trying to say is I experienced something really interesting this week where like the dynamic with me and the alpha guy, with the bantering guy, was intense the whole time. Like, I would go to bed late at night after texting him, and I would just be like, this is what I want, but it's like so unsustainable, right? So, cause it makes me tired. Like, there's no way that people could give this much effort all the time. There's just no way. Like, you have to have a mental break, and you actually have to have a break from this person. But like, the dynamic that you create between the two of you is just so good. It's just so intense. It's like amazing to experience. And if you've never experienced something like that, then you don't know the elation until you do. Because it's like, you just know, for one, that this experience is just like, makes you feel something. It doesn't make you feel necessarily great, but it makes you feel something. It's kind of like when you're working towards probably a marathon for the first time. It's really hard, but you feel amazing probably after you've achieved that, because it's like a fitness thing. Like, you have to be pretty fit. This is like a little mental marathon that you play with somebody at the top of the levels that you could play. It's above where you thought you could go because they bring that too. They expect that, but they're also smart enough to know that when you're not being at your top level, and it's intense. So on the other hand, this person that built the kind of sweeter relationship with me or whatever, and I don't want to say relationship, it's just a connection, right? Both of these things are connections, but it was very, very honest from both sides. I told him all of my red flags, right? Instead of just pretending I don't have any, I'm going to show you what I'm really like almost to like the worst nth degree. But I'm gonna show you what I'm really like to like the best degree too, like in everywhere in between, instead of just like waiting until somebody learns that later. So I didn't mean to do that. It's not like I just sat here and be like, well, let's have an experiment this week. It was just how it came out. It's come out because I'm consistently vulnerable and consistently honest and stuff like that. It just like more and more and more, this stuff just gets like this when I practice being vulnerable and I've practiced being honest with somebody when there's stakes, you know, on the line. So what I experienced, what it was like to be seen by somebody in a very short period of time because they saw my greatness. Which sounds really fucked up to say because it just does. But when you've worked on yourself and somebody sees that you've worked on yourself, it's like, thank you. Like, what's the point of being humble about it? Like, you know, at that point, I do want to be a humble person. I'm not trying to say that I don't, but it's wonderful when somebody's like, I see what you've done here. And because of what you've done here, you're completely different than anybody I've ever met. And that's like the greatest compliment that you can ever get, right? So anyways, I thought that was great to be seen by two different types of alpha people and to be respected. So, okay. That was what was lacking in a lot of my other relationships, was the respect part. No matter what was going on as far as what I wanted from them end game wise, the respect was always missing. I could give respect because I had enough like understanding of what you should do to respect somebody's feelings, respect somebody's like anticipate the respect that you might need to give in certain situations or whatever. I'm not emotionally stupid is what I'm trying to say. So what I'm trying to say also is that maybe I picked emotionally stupid people, not the most intelligent people that way. And the respect aspect was really lacking. And so I experienced respect, and respect for me in my personality, but respect for me in my like mind. Like, still gave respect when they didn't have to, really. And I thought that was interesting. That I didn't demand respect, they just gave it to me because they thought I deserved it, right? So what happened yesterday was that I went on a date and I met the person, the bantering alpha person. It was confusing. It was a confusing date. It was a confusing date because like I thought it was respectful to like meet somebody, even if you're just meeting them for the purpose of casual, like not for a relationship, to like meet them, take them out to dinner and to have chats with them. Like, it was very respectful that way. In comparison to like what happened before, like my 15-minute bakery thing, that's not a date, right? So like we went on an actual date and he took me out and he paid for my dinner or whatever. And he told me beforehand that he would do that. It was like very clear the whole time that this was how I was going to be treated. I guess that's what I mean by respect. Like, he set the expectations and then he followed through on that part, okay? So then I had a confusing date with him. Like, it was very bantery, but it was also like not comfortable. There was lags in the conversation and it was like, interesting because my body was into it, but my head wasn't all that into it. It was like kind of confusing why I enjoyed this. And so I'm beginning to understand a certain part of myself of what I enjoy. It's not the standard kind of thing, right? It's like, why the hell do I like this? I don't know, but I'm experiencing this for the first time, and I'm experiencing this in person for the first time. Because obviously you could, you know, have 1,000 notches down on the intensity in person because they're not really like the same as talking to you through text. So I didn't know what to expect, but the level of intensity was still there in person. Was it actually even more of a mind game than in person? So I enjoyed that part, but it was also uncomfortable, and it wasn't like he gets to know me as an individual. We just get to banter back and forth this way. It's interesting. At the very least, my body really liked it. I was like really excited about this person. My body was giving me signals that I enjoyed it, but my mind was like, do you really enjoy this? I don't know if we enjoy this. This is kind of stressful. Even though I'm like holding my own, I'm not like shying away from this or being intimidated. I'm actually, you know, stepping up to the plate and doing my own part as far as maintaining where things are and even exceeding where things are in my own way. Like for the conversation topics and the bluntness and the honesty and the vulnerability in which you answer back, all of those things are their own meta mind games. And so it's like intense when somebody is like challenging you on that. And then it's intense when you rise to the occasion or you level it. It's hard to explain, but that's what was going on. And it's off-putting. It's off-putting because it's like, well, can't we go back to talking about the weather, right? Like, it's not comfortable, but it's like really fun. But I could see how that could get old, right? So that's just like how it was when we were talking. But there's sweetness and there's vulnerability in both of those relationships. And I just kind of am talking about both of these like things that I built this week because they opened my eyes to certain things. The other one was very centered on what happens in dynamics when attraction is not the same. What happens in dynamics when one is giving more than the other, one is more of a taker, right? What happens then? I am normally a giver. I pick people that are out of my league or hard to reach or unavailable, and it's like, I guess, fun for me to crack them, right? It's fun for me to get them to like treat me nice but treat everybody else not nice, like as long as I'm the exception to the rule. Like that's kind of weird to say, but I think a lot of people like being the exceptions to the rule. It feels elite. It feels good to be like, you can't be easily replaced once you're within that circle, right? So like, I feel like that's kind of why people do it, but maybe you can disagree. I'm not sure, but it's not like a conscious effort. It's just like, those are the patterns that I'm seeing. I pick people that I have to crack. So it was weird to be the person cracked, right? I have a shell around me, not on purpose, but it's just like, I'm not gonna show you me if I don't think that you're gonna get it, right? I just kind of skip that. And I go to like cracking them. This time it was like, it was very safe for me to be cracked by this person. And I experienced that over the period of the week, and it was like also a really interesting and intense experience, but without the sexual dynamic. I don't know how to describe it, but it was interesting for me. And so I think my perfect combination would be a combination of these two people, right? A combination of these things. And I just like am finding little personality traits that are similar that create this with the dynamic that I'm giving, create this like, you know, what do they bring to the table that doesn't really need me that's interesting about them? What is interesting once you add me, right? So I felt like there was a lot to think about even if these people, you know, don't really work out in my life in a long-term way, I learned a lot from both of these people. And they treated me with utmost respect. I had a conversation with the one that I went on a date with, and we came to the same conclusion that, and it was mutual and it was nice. It was a very honest conversation about why we might not want to pursue this. And then we just decided that together. It was like the most grown-up way of being like, I enjoyed you, but bye, right? Like, it had nothing to do with our banter game. It all had to do with like how busy we were in our lives, like separately and combined. Like, that was not good. Like, if either one of us had like met somebody that had like all the free time to give, then the free time person could work around my busy schedule. The free time person could work around his busy schedule, right? But it's like the type of relationship that we were going to have was going to be freaking intense, and it was going to be late nights, and it was going to be always tired, and it was going to be half-assed if we were going to not try to that level. But we were both aware that both of us could try to that level. And so we would be disappointed if we couldn't pursue that level. And so he's really busy, I'm really busy. So it was decided that we would table it and we wouldn't half-ass each other. And I thought that was really great. He did this despite having a date with me where we were probably gonna hook up. Do you know how rare that is? Most guys would want to hook up with you and then explain that whole thing to you, even if it was true before that, right? So he did that beforehand to give me the opportunity to be like, do you want to do this or do you not want to? Right? And I didn't want to. I only wanted to pursue it if it was going to be what I thought the potential could be. I only wanted to experience his best. I didn't want to experience what he could give somebody else that required less. Because I've already done that. I've already done that with people that didn't challenge me as much. So if I was going to raise my bar and raise my level of effort that I was going to give to this person, just even mentally, I wanted to get back good effort, good everything. So why not pick somebody else that was easier to deal with, right? If I just wanted something not meaningful. So anyways, it was really interesting. I've never had like a, here are the facts, this is where we're at, and what would you like to do with it, and what would I like to do with it? And I don't really want to feel stressed out about, you know, what to do. Let's just like kind of like deal with it right after right after our date. So there was no like hemming and hawing and like kind of pretending like things were fine. It was like, let's deal with it now. I love that. So that was my week this week. I learned a lot. I feel like it's probably confusing for you, the viewer, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it's confusing, and I'm sorry, well, all the little birdies. I'm sorry if it's confusing, but I tried to explain it the best way I could without giving it away too much, but also to like respect people's privacy for one, but also to like give you something real, but not really give you all, because I don't really want or need to do that in order for it to be kind of valuable information. And I struggled with that a lot on my own this week. I was like, what am I gonna tell these guys, right? Like, I struggled with, am I still being authentic if I don't give you all the context? Am I still producing content that's worth watching if I don't expose enough for you to get what I'm saying? Is it worth watching? Or like, are the topics worth like thinking about, or are they going to be thought-provoking enough if I leave it vague? And I hope so. This was like kind of like my first attempt at that, right? Like, I've had other videos where I didn't really know what to say, and it's not the same as explaining like something scary to say to the internet. Like, put vulnerability out there. So I don't know. It's weird for me as a creator. Like, what is my level of acceptable? Because I don't think that your level of acceptable is like top level. I don't think that if I, you know, don't tell you all my secrets that you're not gonna like enjoy the video. That's not really what this is about. It's just about like, what do I do consistently that would help explain this to somebody so that they can learn what I've learned without having to experience it or whatever, if you learn that way, or what just gets your mind going. What is thought-provoking if you like to think about stuff. That is the kind of thing that I think about as a content creator. Like, is this worth your time? So I usually think it's worth your time if you know exactly what I'm saying, right? But it's a hard balance for me of being vulnerable to the public versus providing something useful. It's a hard thing to be judged by people when it's pretty sure that you're going to be misunderstood. It's hard. So I have practice with it, and I just wanted to say that you allow me to level up my life. You allow me a platform in which to practice doing this. You allow me a platform in which to gather my thoughts and think about them, to present them. You allow me that by watching me, and you've allowed me to have a level of familiarity with that type of experience that I am comfortable doing that in my dating life. I'm comfortable doing that in my friendships. I'm comfortable doing that in my family relationships. I'm comfortable, more comfortable, because you've allowed me a place that I can practice doing that. And that's amazing. I think I would still have practice if nobody watched, but the fact that you do and you give me like nice feedback, or you know, just allow me a place to do that, it's really great. It is like exposure therapy in the nicest way. You allow me to do that. I think everybody kind of like needs exposure therapy to certain things that are uncomfortable, because they're not uncomfortable after a while. And so therefore you can see what people will be uncomfortable, who do not have experience with uncomfortable things with other people, with other humans in relationships. So it's like, you allow me to have better like vision. It was very clear to me in hindsight that somebody who ghosts you does not have the level of comfort in assessing feelings, right? Their own feelings, they probably, you know, don't even understand mostly. So if you don't want to be ghosted by somebody, don't pick somebody that, you know, is kind of a moron with their own feelings. So I think this is like an interesting, kind of harsh way of me learning what to look for in people that are going to give me a better outcome. And I'm going about it in this weird way, but I'm learning so much because of the weird way I'm going about it. So I wanted to thank you for listening, and I will see you guys next week. I'm going to edit this and go to my basketball game. I have to go in like an hour. So this might be late today. I might be able to get it back up online after the game if you see this late. I know you don't care about that, but for consistency's sake, I just had a busy Friday. So I hope that you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next week with different things, because I'm going to take probably a little bit of a break from, you know, dating. I think I need to take a break. I said that last week, but these opportunities just kind of like fell into my lap or whatever, so I wanted to explore them, and I think that's what life is all about, is adjusting. So I'll go back to, you know, assessing the rest of the things that I need to assess this coming week. I'm going to take a break from things and really step back and do what I said I was going to do last week. But it was interesting for me, and it was worthwhile to have a week setback on the rest of my life in order to experience this, because I feel like what I learned will propel me forward with knowing what kind of partner makes me excited to be with them. So I hope you guys had a great week, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.